Yo, Bill Graff here. Most of y'all probably heard of me, if not known me. Used to work with Richard Van Meteren at Garage 928 up until the end of 2017 in my car accident. I am now out of retirement, as you can see, to some capacity. I'm not as fast as I used to be. There was a lot of damage from the wreck. My joints are screwed. I'm going to apologize in advance. I use mechanic language, which is usually not work safe. So, in case you're listening to this at work on speakers, just keep that in mind. Some things may slip out here and there because I talk fairly casually. Donnie made a video, and I respect him very much for making that video. And a lot of people have been trying to get me to make videos, for the last couple of years since I've been, rebuilding the antique John Deere tractors and things of that nature, as just trying to, spending several years more or less bedridden because you got 3 fractures in your spine, your shoulder dislocates just from picking up a small bag of groceries. It's pretty rough. Eventually, you get to the point where you start to go freaking nuts. You went from busting your ass all day on beautiful cars, being around wonderful people most of the time, to just your whole world being turned upside down. And I'm trying to get some of that back. So this is going to be great for me. This is going to be great for Brian, the owner, who I will just use his first name as of this moment. If he wants to chime in at any point on anything I post, any videos, anything of that nature, he's more than welcome to, of course. But yeah, Donnie made a video pretty much stating his side of the story as far as the engine that he received goes. The engine he has was a low mile engine that was bought for this car. The other engine was taken by Forsyth County when Jane Ann Lanning's car was pulled from Rich's shop. How they ended up pulling that engine up, I don't have any idea. We do know where that engine is and where it ended up. We do have a trail. As far as whether or not how that's going to turn out, who knows? Different people act different ways. I choose to act with straightforwardness, honesty, and to be perfectly honest, I'm blunt. I mean, I can, I'm not gonna go out of my way to be an asshole to anybody, of course. I'm just naturally sort of an asshole, but I'm the funny kind of asshole, not the, oh no, you're not gonna, talking shit asshole. Anyway, yeah, okay, so we're gonna get the elephant out of the room in this post, in this video. And I'm gonna be done with it. At least as far as the videos and stuff go. I'm not gonna bring him up anymore. I'm not going to bash him anymore. I'm not going to do anything. I don't need the stress. His girlfriend doesn't need the stress. The community does not need the stress. Straight up. Okay, so the Jane Ann car, the black S4, I was there from the moment it was pulled out of the guy's basement, which required the removal of French doors, frame, and some bricks to even get it out from underneath the house. That was a fun job. Cleaned it up, got it into the shop, and it was a good car. We had an engine for it that was good, that was just needed refreshed. And to be perfectly honest, if we'd just gone and refreshed it, dropped it in, it would have been a great driver to start with. But as some of you have seen from when Forsyth County came and picked the car up, it was not the same car. Well, I mean, it was the same car, but it wasn't even really a car anymore. That made me want to puke. A couple of years ago when that happened, I think, almost 2 years ago, that happened. And yeah, man. I mean, the facts are there. There's no denying what happened. Some people had good interactions with him. I had great interactions with him over the years. You know, we got into fights over the years, screaming and yelling at each other. I mean, it just goes with it. It was just me and him. And, you know, I don't know what happened. I think desperation, lack of people who knew what they were doing, inability to get anybody in there that knew how to work on the cars. I think a lot of that had a lot to do with it. But when we were at the shop off of McFarland Parkway in Alpharetta, you know, he moved into that shop down off of Grassland. And we were running both shops at the same time. I stayed in the little shop off of McFarland, and he was over there doing, you know, pretty much whatever it is he was doing at the time over there off of Grassland. Well, and I've said this before, it comes down to he had an amazing amount of ambition. Make no mistake about it. He had dreams, as we all do. But his dreams and his abilities at the time did not match up. So he was trying to build at Grassland Parkway more or less, you know, his miniature Porsche experience center. And I was over in the little shop building engines. He didn't want the grease and oil in the new shop. But he was trying to get this image out, this, you know, reputation, this image, this visual out to people that he was, you know, Porsche Experience Center level on a Jiffy Lube budget. And it does not take a rocket scientist to figure out that that's not going to work. So that's when things started kind of getting kind of weird. I started noticing discrepancies in work orders. He did his best to try and keep me separated from personal contact with clientele. He did not like me talking to you guys. He really did not like me, y'all having my cell phone number, which I freely and openly gave to anybody. Because I'm there, I'm working on your car, I can talk to you. Oh, you want to do this? You got it. I write it down. I tell Rich, you order the parts, he orders the parts, whatever, we make it happen. You know? There's no, oh, I'll call you back and you don't get a call back. Or you don't get an answer at all. Or, you know, all the other stuff that, you know, I've heard and I'm hearing things about. Fact of the matter is, at this point, what's done is done. Now we are in the Southeast. One of the few, me being one of the few people in the Southeast that can do this on a professional level. Here, at least. Let's see how this works out. But, trying to clean up what mess we can. I mean, you know, no, I'm not going to be taking these cars in and working on them for free because you paid Rich. I can't do that. There's a separation there. Okay. And that's what I need people to understand also. You know, he understands. He knows what's going on. People have gotten messed up. And it's bad. It's bad. It's really bad. You know, Donnie got in contact with me and, you know, he sent me pictures of the engine. I relayed them to Brian. And we both positively identified that as being the low mileage engine he got out of LA dismantlers some time ago. So originally we were missing 3 engines. We have found 2. One's in Atlanta, apparently shoved in a shipping container or whatever, this and that and the other. We know it exists. We know where it went. We know who has it. Donnie's got the low mileage engine that he spent all this buku's amount of money on to get from California. His original engine is nowhere to be found, so we don't know where that is. But 2 out of 3, I guess I can't complain. We did get one engine with this car that is not the engine that went with this car. Where it came from, I do not know. I have not gotten my hands on it yet, as it is in Brian's warehouse at the moment. We'll have it next month when they are back in town. They do some really cool work and do a lot of with their work's international, so they're gone a lot during the year. So trying to get in there and get out and organize everything. You know, with me and him, it's going to take some time to get this car done, but it's getting a 5-speed swap, massive cams in it, some really nice stuff. It's gonna be a really nice car, you know, and it's his dream car, you know, and he has latched onto this even through everything that was going on, and has kept pretty meticulous records, you know, kept visuals on at least most of the stuff that he could. But after the incident with the black S4 and Jane Ann, everything just kind of scattered. And, you know, some things he was able to find, his headers, and I got the cams. I'm missing one set of springs and plates. But, you know, we thanks to Colin, I know I can get those, and I know what the part numbers are. Thank you, sir. You know, and I'm sorry to everybody in the community that's had to deal with, you know, this whole entire situation. It's fucked. It's completely, no matter how you look at it, fucked. And I am, you know, I do harbor some guilt, like I said, you know, that things came to what they came to. You know, and like I made in that post on the 928 docs page, you're more than welcome to message me or whatever you want to, if you have any questions about your vehicles that I have worked on, you know, we'll say, I think June of 2017 back through 2015. I can give you as much information as I have. I have 2 stacks of paperwork, you know, this freaking big, full of work orders, my notes, you know, cars, this, that, and the other. I have over 3,800 pictures of all these cars that I built, because I am just anally retentive and take pictures of everything. I'm very proud of what I do. You know, do I make mistakes every now and then? Yeah. Anybody that says they don't is a fucking liar. Shit happens. But I make my shit right. You know? I own up to my shit. I'm fix it. I don't make excuses. I'm not gonna run and hide from you. I'm not gonna not answer your call. I have pride at stake. I've worked very hard to get where I'm at. I got my start at the age of 15 in this garage behind me in the house I grew up in. Rebuilding Volkswagen Beetles that my dad kept dragging home. So yeah, I really kind of got my start in air cooled. And then ended up getting one of these for myself, and the rest was history. All hell broke loose, and you know, Rich, I was working for a gentleman in Grayson who works on all European vehicles, and Rich kept bothering me for like a year to come work for him, because I mean, the reality of the situation was I was big competition for him. And you know, I held out for a year simply because driving from here to Alpharetta every day would suck. And it did, because I did eventually, obviously, cave and went to work for him full time on these and whatever else came in. So, all right, so we know what the reality of the situation is. For those of you that had great dealings with him, that's wonderful. He was not an evil person by any means. he was mixed up in ways, as we all are to some degree. His was just, obviously. It's one thing when you mess up and you take the hit yourself. It's like, oh damn, I shouldn't have done that. It's different when you mess up and other people suffer because of it. That's not okay. And unfortunately, that will be a taint on his legacy. And there's nothing I can do about that. I didn't make the choices. He made his own choices. Sandy didn't make his choices. He made his own choices. He was a grown man. And there are a lot of people that had really questionable dealings that they knew were questionable. Maybe not at the time, but shortly thereafter. There are people that, straight up, there's no hiding it, got boned. And I really do feel for all of you, I do. From the bottom of my heart, I really do. It's horrible. I mean, I can't even... I do my best not to be angry these days. It's not worth it. It's not good for my health. It's not good for the situation. Not good for anybody involved. And that's another reason why I want to thank Donnie for being very honest, very cordial, very understanding of the situation. He's right that, we aren't a huge community when it comes down to these cars. It's a niche, for sure. I mean, it's a niche car, which brings with it its problems and its limitations, its parts availability, its pricing. As Roger Tyson, first time I ever spoke to that gentleman, who was a wonderful man, by the way. Spoke with him recently trying to find an engine. But when I spoke to him the first time, when I got my 928, my 82, I was ordering the steel ball joints. Because, I'd heard about the notorious plop of your front wheels. So I ordered all that, and tie rods and stuff from him. And he said something to me that is true, and we all know this, is there's no such thing as a cheap Porsche. You may be able to buy a Jeep, if you're lucky, at this point. I mean, I found out just in the, few years that I've been out of the game that things changed a lot. Like, a lot. An engine I could pick up for $2,500 $4 or 5 years ago is now $9,000. That's a fucking lot. But I called him. I called Roger a few days ago, just touch base with him, see if he knew of any engines available, and he's like, they're hard to find now. And I was like, yeah, And he's like, oh yeah, and they're not. The days of the affordable engine are over, my friend, were his exact words. And at that time, he's on the internet looking up eBay to see what's available. I mean, that's awesome. What kind of what better service do you have? The guy's literally, he's running his business, taking the time for me to look on the internet and see what pops up. That's cool. Love you, Roger. You're an awesome dude. And the only one that popped up was $9,000. So it's like, I don't need another coronary. One was enough. So that's the situation we are stuck dealing with now. I'm going to openly say that there's no hostility coming from my end of anything, Brian's end of anything, as far as we go. So as we're searching for parts that belong to this car, the engines and this and that and the other, Donnie at first seemed a little on edge and a little defensive, and that's completely justified. I completely understand. Somebody's coming out of the blue going, so oh yeah, that's definitely our engine, and you're vested in it now. you're already vested in it. And, he's got money tied up in it. He's got time tied up in it. And he genuinely, I feel, feels bad about the situation. And, I give him great respect for being in touch with that, reasoning on the whole issue. We're not going militant on people. We would like people to do the right thing. And we aren't going at this like, like I said, he's got stuff invested in that engine now. The retrieval, the tear down, the cart that I have no idea where it is. It was not in his shop when I was in it the other day. Which was extremely small, by the way. Mine's 5 times what he was working out of. And this is my house, to give you any idea of the contrast here. But we want to make as many things right as we can make right. I know he's looking for a 32 valve engine. I do have a lead on a couple. And the one we have that does not go to this car, which is also an option. Me and Brian are discussing, all of that, but with him being, in Germany at the moment, and then Japan after that, and so on and so forth. Jet setters. It's going to take some time to try and get everything organized. So I just hope everybody has some patience and understands that. I live in Atlanta also, naturally, or north, the burbs. So, the other engine, if it becomes available, I can pick it up at any time. I will say that. Donnie is in Texas. We are also looking at another engine in Texas. Don't know how that'll turn out. We will see. But yeah. So that's how all that is. As far as Richard goes, last bit I'm going to say is I am. When I heard the news, it was kind of harsh, and I talked to Sandy, and she explained to me exactly what happened over, a certain span of time. And aside from the most likely TIA that he had at the shop one night earlier on, he was pretty much taken out by what almost took me out 13 years ago. And, I shouldn't have survived mine. They call it the Widowmaker for a reason. Survival rate is 90%, or mortality rate is 90% or less, or more. Death, my cardiologist still thinks I'm some sort of miracle thing to this day. Crawls my butt for everything I do he doesn't like. But, he has my interest in art. Saved my life. I do my best to listen to it. But for him to pass on from the same thing is, it's sad. It is sad. Well, the loss of any life is sad. People take a lot of things for granted. Anger, frustration, guilt, all of the things that make us human come into play when life and death happens. Granted, there's clear record of his transgressions. There's no arguing it. It's been proven. But that doesn't make him unhuman. That doesn't make him worthless. So, I would like people to keep that part at least in mind. A loss is a loss, and should be treated with the respect that, that holds. And it's like I had said, and it's like Donnie had said, when we pass, what we've done during our life is what our legacy ends up being, what our story ends up being. And, his got some holes in it, dark ones. I hope, and I've strived very hard, even during the time I was with him, and some of the lesser but still significant things that were happening, that I, a lot of which I will keep to myself, because they were personal, financial type situations that don't need to be made public. That will unfortunately be a part of his legacy. We can all learn from this. I think the vast majority of us are better at that. I mean, this is a great community. I've met many wonderful people in this community. Gotten a lot of help in this community. It's, and I'm gonna have a little emotional talk for a moment. It was really strange when this car showed up on the truck. Open the door, and it's full of parts. Brian's taking the front seats out and the dash to have them redone. Is apparently working on getting a GTS interior for it, which is cool. But all of in the community that owns these, or have owned these, whether you still currently do or don't, know that these cars have a particular feel, particular smell. They all have it. I mean, you can put, you could be like a New York taxi driver and have 20 scented Christmas trees hanging from your rear view, but you're still going to smell that 928 smell, and it's going to hit you, and you're going to know exactly what it is. Every last one of them I've ever worked on, even ones that have had the interiors pulled out of them, things that would normally hold, that scent, cars still smelled like it. So I sat there on the door sill, and it was just like, at that moment I had a rush to the head. It's like, I remember how every single last piece of this car goes together. That was a good moment for me. That was a very uplifting and emotional moment for me, because I've spent the last few years, battling depression and PTSD, panic attacks from the wreck. It's like the doctors had said, if I'd heard the woman hit the brakes, heard tires squealing, and was prepared for what was fixing to happen, things probably wouldn't be as bad as they are now. But I was hit by a Nissan Armada with a teenage driver video chatting her friends. I was at a stoplight, one car in front of me, and she hit me in the back end of my Jeep Cherokee at 70 miles an hour. Turned that Jeep Cherokee into an accordion. So that pretty much, as my hands on the wheel, ripped my shoulder out of socket, sent me back, broke the seat, back of my seat, and then I hit the car in front of me, which sent my knees into the dash and underwards, which destroyed my back and my knees. So it's a lot of recovery, still a lot of pain, but man, I ain't giving up. I got a life to live. I enjoy this shit. Love it. And hate it. Love it more. But, yeah, I'm going to be doing a whole lot of videos on this build and what's going on with this. I've also got a 924S that was originally bought. I went and picked up in a place called Roanoke, Alabama, which is a really terrifying place to be. Like, we're talking banjo music, and wife and kids wouldn't even get out of the car. Yeah, that bad. Porsche had no business being there. But anyway, got the car from there, brought it home for a gentleman who lives in Australia. And then come to find out, after he buys, sports seats and, probably $10,000-$12,000 worth of parts, that Australia has that particular car blacklisted and will not let it into the country. So now, with that thing, we have weird choices to make. Okay, do we finish it and sell it? Do we finish it, he keeps it here or somewhere else from when he comes to the States to drive around? Don't know. But I got all these parts. I got his car. So I'm going to put it together to get it shiny, pretty, fully functional. Just like this one. Not hot rodded like this one. This thing's going to kick ass. But, yeah, I mean, yeah, I know I drone on and on a long video. But listen, y'all just, like I say, I apologize for everything that I wasn't able to control. There was a lot while I was here that I was able to control. I was able to sit there and go, let's not do this, dude. Don't. Just don't. And he'd back off, and so there were a lot of things I did put a stop to, and they were minor. I mean, in comparison to like I say, Jan Ann's issue with the Black S4, that honestly is the pinnacle of holy shit, dude. But a lot of yeah, the customer said just to put the timing belt on it and not the water pump, just replace the water pump gasket, clean the water pump up, put it back on. They don't want to spend the money on the water pump. And then I sneak, I walk into his office, he's not there, I'll go to grab a set of keys or something off the wall, and I look down and I see the work order, and there's a fucking water pump written on that fucking work order for like $600. Car's gone, guy's got it, it's done. The fuck am I supposed to do at this point? I've got my work order, which has what I was told to do on it. The bill out was obviously not what was on my work order. So, I mean, I also hate to say it, but Richard's also the reason why I will never work for anybody again. I will work with clientele directly. I will have no bosses other than you guys. Plain and simple. I also will not be taking on massive amounts of cars. I have enough room, and I have some places where I can put some, but I'm not going to do it. I will take in 2 at a time. If it's a daily thing, something that can be turned around in a day, you're more than welcome to bring it on. Call me, let me know anytime. We can take a look at it. But if it's something, like this, I'm not taking any more than 2 at a time. That's it. That both protects me, it protects you, it keeps the possibility of shit going south pretty much to zero, unless, I do something stupid, and as I've told you, that ain't gonna happen. You're not gonna always like what I have to say. I may tell you, this is fucked up, this part's $700, just letting you know. But in the end, it's up to you whether you do something about it or not. It ain't up to me. I'm not pushy. All I can do is give you the facts. And all you can do is what you can do. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it. I get it. I don't know if y'all remember mine in 928. It looked great from about 10 feet away. The interior was fucked. But it fucking flew for an 82. I think it was fast as hell. I miss that car. Sort of. Except for the fact that it literally, if I got caught in the rain in it, I was swimming around trying to find the steering wheel. Went through 2 fucking fuse panels in that car because of that shit. But it's another one. That's another case of one of those things where I was working at the shop with Rich all the time, trying to handle everybody else's car. I just did not have time to fuck with my own. And you know, and that's the curse of every technician. You'll find, you know, a lot of technicians will work on, you know, I've worked on Ferraris, I've worked on Bentleys, you know, Rolls. Well, most of the Bentleys and Rolls I've worked on were pretty much the same cars. You know, the 70s and 80s models, the boats that were pretty much the exact same freaking car. You know, I've worked on a lot of really high line stuff. And then I go in and I get into a beater 944. This puking oil to drive from Alpharetta or Grayson home in, you know. And that's just it, you know, that's the way it is with most technicians. They'll work on really nice things, work really hard, some will do really good work, and then they'll go out and they'll get in their 93 Toyota Corolla, go home, crash. Well, anyway, yeah, this is just the first video. It's a long one, but I wanted to get all that out. It's bottled up in me, and I feel better now just saying it and getting it out there. It's been bothering me. I mean, it's been bothering me for years, but since he passed, and people started messaging me, and it all got flared up again, and, you know, everything happening, it started stressing me out pretty bad. And it's hard, you know, because you feel bad for those who feel the loss and are also getting hit in the face with a whole lot of things that they didn't know. You know, having to clean up, mop up the mess afterwards. That wasn't even your problem to begin with. Let that be a lesson to all of us. Leave behind memories. Leave behind the pain and sorrow and sense of loss that you're supposed to when you leave this place. Don't leave behind anguish and a mess and a whole bunch of bullshit. That ain't fair to those who love you. That's it. From here on out, it'll be all car shit.